Welcome to the World Builders Anvil, episode 183. Today's topic, the rules of your magic system, part 3. Imperio!
I'm going to let that go because that was fun.
That was so bad. Don't know where to start building your fantasy world? Do you need more? Does it make sense? Forget any worries and become a crafter of imagination. This is the place that will help prime your mind. Now, it's time to heat up the forge, break out the mithril ingots and hammer. Welcome to the World Builders Anvil. I'm your host, Jeffrey W. Ingram. Let's sup from the mug of Java and build. Welcome back. As always, I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And magically delicious, I am Michael Miller.
Imperial, everyone. Welcome to today's show on the World Builders Anvil. I want to thank you so much. Really. I mean, I keep looking at our download numbers, and thank you. Thank you.
And you haven't told me the numbers lately. How are we doing?
Really good. This year,
have we reached the 10,000 a month mark?
We've not reached. We had one. Our best month has been 8,000. We probably average. We averaged definitely over 5,000 a month this year. Compared to last year, we probably averaged around 3,000 a month.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So, once again, show's still growing. Probably just due to our superb research skills, I think. Okay.
Hang on.
You're looking at people, aren't you?
I'm looking up people.
You're playing with yourself.
Yeah, I totally have shout-outs. I just remembered, and I'm pretty sure I have them right here on my phone. Because, as with other things regarding listenership, there's also everybody joining the Undercroft group. And I love we've got this nice, slow, steady growth there where it's...
with no effort.
It's not... Well... Yeah. People are not joining so fast that it's hard to keep track. Like, people are still, individuals, not just a crowd.
That's
starting
to pick up.
I want to shout out and say thanks for joining to Corey, Dylan, and David.
We definitely appreciate it. We had a join today too, right?
I was gonna check that real quick because I don't know if David...
Proving to all of you how far in advance we are right now.
Yeah. David might not be the latest one. I think there might have been somebody that joined today, and I'm on the page, but I'm not...
Yes, you did approve one today.
I did approve one today? All right, give me one more second. If I've got one other place I can look where it should show me. And we can shout them.
Group?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think David was the
David was the one today? Okay.
Yeah, because what I do is generally, if I think of it, and I usually do think of it, is when I do approve a new person, I jump onto my phone and I put it on a file on my phone. That way I know when we record to say hello to everybody. So, and what's cool is I think David is our only group member in the Czech Republic. I don't know that don't know that anybody else has mentioned that they're from the Czech Republic, but he is, and I think that's totally awesome. He's in Prague.
We are definitely a multinational group, and it's good to bring in another country. So
guys, thanks for being, and for those of you that aren't yet, the water's warm. Jump onto the Fantasy World Builders Undercroft on the Facebooks, as I like to say.
Yes, the address is facebook.com/groups/Undercroft.
You'll find us on the Webernets.
On the Webernets, which is the only word that is allowed on this show.
Actually, I heard a really good one the other day, and I can't remember what it was. It was like interspace or something. It was weird.
Well, it's not as good. I do have to say, though, I've started using it. I'm trying to break the lexicon into the business podcast now.
Nice.
So,
but you better be giving me a footnote. You better be saying,
that you get complete credit. That one made by Dave.
The Webernets as formulated by Michael Miller. Because Al Gore may have invented the internet, but I created the Webernets.
But Webernets, that's all Mike. Oh,
I was just going to correct you. So today's subject, if you haven't been paying attention, is part 3.
You need to go.
Yeah, you got to go back.
Yeah, you need to watch 182 and 181. We've done them in a row. So if you're not
conveniently, for a while there, Jeff wanted to do 15 episodes between each one, just to keep you guys waiting on the next segment. I said we should probably post them in a row.
Or actually, my original theory was every 15 episodes, do one rule at the end. And Michael thought that wasn't really.
No, I don't think that.
I thought it was maybe
a little slow
too much
for if you're going to build a magic system, delivering that. There's a point of the show that we like to help people world build, and I
over
think
the
that
next
would be,
2 years,
if you want to make a magic system next, say 2024. You'll be all set. We're going to drop the last rule in 2023. So by the end of 2024, you should be set.
All set. Yeah. So we've gone over the first 4 rules.
You want to recap the first 4 rules? Just the rules.
Sure. You go ahead.
I don't have them right in front of me. You'll have to wait a second. Do you have them in front of you? No. Give me a second. I do have them. Unless I deleted them as I delete all the notes that you give me.
I didn't realize you actually looked at the notes.
I look at the notes. I summarily ignore them, but I do look at them.
That's true. It would be too lucky to not occasionally
I've been honest
say something on the show notes if you didn't know what was on them.
Okay, so here's rules 1 through 4. And these are rules for building a magic system, things that you need to think about. I'm not going to read the bullet points under each rule. Go back to the prior episode to catch the bullet points. But rule 1 is what type of magic system. Rule 2 is how is the magic powered. Rule 3 is how magic is used. Rule 4 is who can use magic. And today we get into Rule 5 and beyond.
Yep. And once again, a quick shout out to TV Tropes. It was reading their Write a Functional Magic System, which kind of got my juices going. It's heavily influenced by that, and that's heavily influenced by Brad Sanderson, I believe. So, I mean, it just shows how we all really sort of empower each other. So, and hopefully you guys will be inspired to come up with something even better.
So,
rule in the Undercroft group.
So, rule number 5, what can magic not do? Or I would go with what can't magic do?
No, that's
no?
too
too
concise.
Too concise. What can magic not do when you're trying to do something with magic, but magic won't do it? That's rule 5.
Remember, I prefer simply succinct.
Simply succinct.
Not succinct.
I know. Not concise. Simply succinct. Not concise.
That's right.
So, Jeff, what can't magic do?
Yeah, and this is where you might have thought I was going to say, what can magic do? I'm not interested in that. I mean, the stories tell what magic can do. You usually have an idea of what magic can do, but the more important thing is understanding what magic cannot do. What's its limitations? And I think to start off with,
no wishing for more wishes, no bringing people back from the dead, and I can't make anyone fall in love with you.
If you were trying to get to your Count Chocula voice, you really failed.
I don't know why you didn't understand this. I was re-listening to the Boogeyman episode because I was looking for something. And you break into a little... Actually, no. It might not have been the Boogeyman episode. It was when we were talking about the Frighteners. We had some fear-based stuff. And you're like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you sound just like Count Chocula. So you should do...
Oh, you're saying
it was you, not me. But I'd be happy to pick another voice. Like one of these days, if you want to do an episode to see if we can get through an entire episode with you talking like Count Chocula and me talking like whatever, I'll come up with something.
Yeah, that'll go over great.
I'm sure. Big list.
I've had a request for that episode. So
which one, the Frighteners or the Boogeyman or Count Chocula?
Count Chocula episode. So
I think we need to appease the audience.
Blah blah
blah blah.
Okay. So the first thing I like to say what magic cannot do is, and once again, these are things you're choosing. So we're just giving you going through ideas of things where I think you can limit magic. And the first one is and this is a common one: body. Your body essentially is a limited resource of health. So if you're using your life energy as a way to help power magic, and maybe it can recuperate over time, you limit the amount of magic that you can cast, by the actual health in your body.
Okay, so part of this is not only what magic cannot do, but also what limits it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're using like health as your, mana source, if you will, life force casting, then you're only going to get so much life force before you die.
Yes, exactly. Spirit, same kind of thing, but it's like the side of you that you think of you, whether it's your soul or your spirit or whatever you want to call it. So it's the same idea. Like when it's go, maybe there's a body still functioning there, but you're really not in it anymore.
So like sort of astral,
spirit,
like astral projection sort of stuff.
It could either be astral projection or it could be literally like, a piece of your soul dies every time. However you want to do it.
And can that grow back or?
Yeah, I would say in this scenario, we're kind of talking about, like kind of a mana type of limitation where there's only so much you can physically get done. And maybe it's not even quite as extreme where you lose your soul, but you just maybe don't have the juice anymore to do it. Or your body can't handle it anymore because you're not strong enough. So it doesn't necessarily have to kill or take you away. I'm extreme. You should know that. You've been in my game.
Yes, I have. And actually, I'm reminded of that, but I'm also reminded of Jim's game. And I know part of what I'm remembering is from Jim's game where my character got real, in a mage system, got real vulgar and got pulled into what's called a quiet. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Mage the Ascension and how the magic works in that, the basic gist is the magic system is all coincidental versus vulgar magic. So if you have the power to do a given spell and you can justify it occurring within the bounds of accepted, agreed upon reality, then you can probably do the spell. But if you do something that is not within the bounds of accepted, agreed upon reality, then you're doing vulgar magic. Well, if you do enough of that vulgar magic, you get punished by reality. Reality puts you in a timeout, which is called the quiet. Or a quiet?
The corner.
No, I'm talking about the actual terminology from the book.
Well, I just mean like, it's effectively the corner in school.
Yeah. So but I seem to remember something in one of your games that was in a GURPS system, and I feel like something maybe that happened to Yasad. Maybe while Yasad was dead. Like, did we have
which time?
Which time? The first time. I seem to remember role playing him while he was effectively out of body. He was, for all practical purposes,
I don't remember that.
Dead, but his spirit was still alive. That's what makes me think of this because we're talking about spirit. And he was very much a faith caster. All of his magic, while some of it might have been powered by life force, was definitely in the realm of spirit and what we were talking about in the prior episode. Not spirit magic, but
mana?
No. Like when it's from the gods.
Divine magic.
Divine magic,
Is what I call
it. Very much spiritual / divine magic. So now you have charm here on as the next one. I'm very curious what you mean by that.
Yes. Wit, but that's not the next one because wit's the next one.
Oh, that's the first time you jumped bullet points 2 or 3 times in the last episode. You just jinxed me with it so I just did it.
Yeah. I'll take full responsibility.
You realize that you can let it go and then just go back.
No, I can't.
Yeah, you got to call me on it. You got to call me on it, make me look bad. So wit. Tell me about wit, you witless wonder.
Wit. So the idea is essentially, and Michael kind of hinted at this one a little bit, right? Like creating coincidental magic in Mage would be wit, limitation. So it's the wit of the character, or the wit of the player, the person to design the character to come up with a scheme that they have to use their wit to be able to get their idea through. So you have to come up with a way to convince reality or the people viewing you that it's legitimate what you're doing, which then makes it real. So that would be the limiting factor.
I always find it interesting when you're playing a character that is dramatically more intelligent or more clever or witty than yourself. Like sometimes, I think it's okay, but you definitely need some understanding from the GM if you're like, okay, I am not a super scientist, so I'm going to do a sciencey thing here, and I feel that you should be allowed that concession when it comes to certain things. Like the GURPS norm is 10 for intelligence, but if I'm playing a character who has an 18, which is like smartest man on the planet, or maybe smartest man in the galaxy, I should be able to do things that, me as a person would have no idea about because the character's way smarter.
Usually the way I like to do it when I'm game mastering with someone is I like to think, does the character know? Because that is a very fair point. Like when you're role playing, you probably can't shoot an arrow 100 yards into someone's eye.
Well,
but maybe the character.
But physical skills though are different because you're just going to describe it anyway.
Yes, but the idea is though, I feel the same thing when it comes to intelligence. So is it likely the character could have a high intelligence, but if they need to understand the inner workings of quantum physics and it's a tech level 3 society.
Well, of course.
Exactly.
Of course.
So, it's like, is it within the realm of the character's knowledge? If so, then that's when you let the game mechanics work and the dice take over in the GURP sense. But for me, both wit and spirit in different ways were the limiting factors in Mage. So, because the wit is coincidental and the spirit is the punishment for vulgar. And AKA life. But really, if it gets bad enough, those things are kind of the same thing. But now charm.
But when I say charm. Yeah, before you move on, though, I'll just footnote, guys, go check out Seize the GM podcast. Listen to Derek, Zendet, and all the kids over there. They can help you out with some of the stuff that we're talking about regarding GM stuff. Mm-hmm. Hi, Derek.
And now the next one we want to get to is charm.
So this one's about me.
No, wrong charm.
No, like me.
Charm is
so charming.
No,
it's true because I said so. That's what charm is, right?
Say versus
when you just tell people, when you just force it upon people, you just tell them you're charming. Like that's how that works, right?
No, that's called obnoxious.
Oh, I might be obnoxious.
That's a different bullet point. We'll get to that.
Gotcha. Charm.
After the lying one. Okay. Now, charm magic. It's the idea where you need some kind of charm, an amulet, something that the magic is in that holds the magic, and that's where the magic comes from. So if you can get it into a charm, or you can get a charm with the effect, you can then do magic. But and in this kind of system, no one might actually have magic. As an individuals, but people with certain charms.
So items might be imbued with power.
Yeah, exactly. So this is really item. It could be swords, whatever. I like charm because charm is a typical one you think about there is a magical charm.
I like the word talisman for that also.
Talisman would probably be a little bit better word. But once again, there's many things. These are any items where the magic is only in the items. There aren't people.
Or portcullis, horcrux.
Shot it. Okay.
Shot it.
Now, the next one is knowledge. This is a big limiter in typically spell types of magic systems. You don't know that spell. Yes, you know the spell of fiery doom, of volcanic anal eruptions, but you do not know the spell of create food and water. Sorry. And that's fair in a spell-based system.
I can blow up this wall, but the problem is we need to feed this starving man. I can blow up this wall.
The world's dead then. You're all dead. If I can't feed someone,
this man who's about to starve to death, literally dying right before us, has all the answers to life, the universe, and everything. If he doesn't eat a sandwich, we all lose out. I can blow up this
wall. Yes, exactly. But, it's like you have to find the spell. And a lot of times there's stories wrapped up in that where you have to go find the spell as part of the adventure. Power. And that's just the raw power. You can't handle the power. There's power involved. And once again, this could be tied to body. This could be tied to spirit as well, too. But there's sort of a powering system, and either you can't get enough of it. And GURPS a lot, I liked working with the low and high mana, so people could pull off more magic in areas that had more magic because the power is around you. And there's areas that have less, so you'd need to be better with magic to pull it off in those kind of areas. I like those kind of ideas where certain areas, and those become your holy areas, typically have this closer connection to magic.
Feel the power, Kronk.
Now, power is also a good one, but we've already talked about that, so we'll skip to the next one then, which is range. And range is sort of like there's some kind of range limiter.
One of my favorites in GURPS is if you don't have a couple of specific skill sets, you have to touch a given thing to do magic to it.
Depending on the spell.
Depending on, a lot of the spells. But touch is a very big range limitation, which is why, and this is kind of writes right into stories, all these wizards walk around with long staffs. So they can do the spell and just touch it with a staff. They're like, that counts. I can extend my reach just by touching it.
That's where that idea comes from. Another common one's line of sight, but you got to be kind of careful with that because what does that mean? Especially if you're doing like novel storytelling. How are you going to convey that when it's a problem? Are you going to come up with artificial constructs to block it? But that's definitely one that's worth considering. And I also like GURPS had a great workaround too, where there was a spell called Cursed Missile, which was not so much a curse, but it could hold a touch spell. So you would create a Cursed Missile, then you could create a spell that you had to touch someone with. You would put the two together and throw the Cursed Missile, and if you hit something, it would then touch them, and it would deliver the effect from the other spell.
So would you actually have to put 3 spells together in that scenario? The Cursed Missile, the touch, and then one more thing?
The way it worked was you would cast one, and then you would cast the other spell, and then you like take like the water and put it in there, and you could throw it, and it would be like a water balloon.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think so. It's been a while since I played in the GURPS Magic system, but I believe it was just 2 spells you used. Essentially, one to carry the effect. But it was a way to work around it, and it could give you more range. And then you get into maybe more like weapons where, okay, that spell has an effective range of 300. I've created a spell that has an effective range of 3010. Ha-ha. 3010. That's really far.
So that's 3010.
3000.
3010.
That's right. Now, the next one is you lack materials. You know, and this is a common one. And once again, a lot of these things you're thinking, but wait, doesn't that go with this? You know, doesn't lack of materials go with, spirit magic because you need the materials to cast the spirit? No. The thing is, you can have multiple things that magic cannot do. Like maybe you need materials. So if you lack the materials, you can't cast the spell. So maybe you know the words, the formula of a spell, but you need a magic component, or it could be a rare flower or whatever it is, some kind of ingredient that you also need, and it will be consumed when the spell is cast. Or sometimes it's maybe only really powerful spells have those kind of limitations.
This could be something that goes hand in hand with some sort of ritualistic magic. Or it could be something like alchemy.
Old school D&D used to do that, where you would need spell and material. I think GURPS, maybe you can use materials if you lack skill. I'm not sure. That could just be my imagination.
No, I'm pretty sure you're right about that a lot. And it also, obviously, it's going to depend on the GM. But a lot of... I seem to remember GURPS having a lot of basically avenues to get to the result to help you if you lack the skill. So like
and their normal spell system.
Right, in their normal spell system. So it'd be like, okay, I know the spell, great, but if you know the spell and you also do the hokey pokey, turn yourself around, and you have the crushed skull of 4 crows, and you say the magic word, so you do all these different things in conjunction, then it improves your potential to get the outcome you're shooting for.
Yes, exactly. And that's where you can, as a person creating a system, you can have multiple limiters, but you can have, say, you need 2 of 5 or whatever you want to do. The next one is a fun one, and there's a great example that I'll talk about: finite magic. And you might think that when I talk about body or spirit magic, that's finite. In a way, it can be, because there's a max you can get to, but it recovers. Finite magic is more of the idea where either the world or individuals can use so much magic, or maybe there's only so much of a certain material that's needed to perform magic. So there's a certain number of uses, essentially.
Yeah.
And the great example of this is if you read the comic book Spawn. Spawn, literally every time he used his hell powers, he lost a little bit. When his hell powers reached 0, his game was over, and his soul went back to the devil. So finite magic is something that you could layer in as well, too.
He must have had an awful lot, though. That comic's been going for years and years.
Well, I only read it when it first came out, so I'm sure they've figured out ways to reduce them or something, or he goes to hell and comes back. Who
recharges it up like the Green Lantern ring.
I would be a bit more harsh if it was my world, but I'm not trying to make a comic book that's around forever. So I can understand why they would go that way. Now, exponential and logarithmic effect cost. So let's say if I want to do one thing, it costs 2 pennies. But if I want to add on another effect, so let's say I want to create a weapon. I'm creating as one effect, and weapon is something else. So it's 2 things, so it costs me 4 pennies. But now if I want to do that and be able to put a flame around it, that's 3 things. So maybe the cost goes up to 16 or it goes up to 20. So the cost grows the more things I try and get done. Maybe I try to do it really quickly. That's possibly an effect. I can come up with what I call effects, and the more things that I'm trying to cheat with the magic system, the more expensive it becomes, to the point where you would need 1,000 people to have enough health to be able to cast one really complicated spell.
Yeah, that's one thing I was not a big fan of the way GURPS works, because there are certain things that to do them, to make them work, the costs are so heavy, and it's for effects that are not super powerful, especially if you were a necromancer. Like I tried to make a necromancer once, and it was so hard. It's like, oh look, I can reincarnate a frog. It's like, no, I want I want minions. I want to reincarnate zombies. I want skeletal warriors. Like, oh, that's going to take days to get one, and that one is going to die on like 2 hits. Really?
I think that kind of system works better with stories than it does with games.
Yeah.
Like in stories, it's like I have this idea about factories in my world where, they can have all of the components needed to make something, or they can fake it because it's a magical place doing something. And the labor of the workers is actually extracting life force from them slowly during the day, which allows the output of the factory to happen even without all of the normal stuff or the proper time or the proper skills to create, like, say, a car. They could do it with like less stuff or no stuff because they're really using the life force of the workers to generate it for them. So I think that's kind of a cool thing story-wise. Game-wise, especially depending on the spells you want to do and the kind of campaign, it can be very limiting. And now the final one I thought about here was Heaven's Choice. And this is sort of classic. Think of D&D or any sort of divine system where I am the cleric of Michael the Archangel. Mm-hmm. And I go, I am going to burn the orphanage down with a fireball.
That's something Michael the Archangel would allow.
Exactly. So I
see where you're going.
I can't. I know how to do it, and I could probably fireball the evil temple of demon minions, but if I try and do the orphanage, Michael goes, no.
Yeah, I don't think he'd allow that. Being a protector of man and all.
Yeah, whatever.
Unless it was a goblin orphanage. If it was a goblin orphanage, he might just kind of look the other way.
Yeah, burn it. Yeah, so
Naughty goblins.
So that's what to keep in mind, especially if they're directly interacting with gods to gain their magic. It makes a lot of sense here. Or maybe there's sort of a divine overseer that goes, no, that's too much. No. And even though there's not necessarily God that you're praying to, there's still something stopping the effect. And that becomes a little bit more hand of God to me. But
it also ties itself in, going back to prior rules about the nature of how the magic works in your world.
And that's the great thing when you're building your magic system, you can go any way you want to.
And there's nothing saying that, let's say you just live in a high mana Learnader world, and that's how magic works. Anybody can learn magic, and because of the high mana, anyone can cast it. A god still could step in and say, no, you're about to do something that's really against the plan I have in mind. So don't burn.
No, you can't.
Don't be burning.
You can't create water.
Yeah, don't be burning down the goblin orphanage, because I have plans for all those little goblins.
Oh, that's fine. Just no creating water or food.
Yeah, that's my job. As the god of the hearth and the harvest, that's for me to do. Rule 6.
Always a girl.
There is no rule 6. Rule 7. Sorry. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's actually rule. Is it?
I should have actually skipped.
Is it rule 6 or rule 7? I might have actually done that right.
There is one of them, yeah. And actually, if I would have thought about that, I would have actually skipped that number.
I'm almost positive.
I'm
it's
ashamed
rule
of
6.
myself. Yeah.
So rule 6 is, what is the price of magic?
And this is very similar to rule 5, but the thing is, this is
kind of a karmic
story effect.
This is kind of a karmic.
Yes, this is a karmic cost.
Yeah.
And that's the way I want you to think about it, right? So it's like, first, the price could be your magic, right? So let's say, especially like the good one is in a finite magic system, maybe you don't die, but maybe you become powerless. And so think about a world where everyone can use magic, but everyone has a limited amount of magic. Do you want to be one of the people who can't cast magic? So do you use that spell or do you not use that spell? But it's sort of the karmic cost, exactly. Your reputation, right? You can burn down that orphanage and you're fine. But if you create that food and water, no one's going to respect you. No one's going to like you. And they might hunt you down as a witch if you create food and water. So don't do that. Skeleton army is fine, though. Okay.
Oh, I want a skeleton army so bad. Do you know what actually was the big thing with that character? Like one of the things that I set out to do, like this is really what I wanted to do. I wanted to one of the spells he could do was called Soul Jar. That means you take a glass jar, you take someone's soul, and you put it in the jar. They put their soul in the jar, and then if you drop the jar, they die. So
I think I remember. Was this one of my games? I think I remember.
No, this was a different game, but I might have consulted you because it was so difficult to make what I wanted to do.
And Soul Jar magic is really expensive.
Well, doing the Soul Jar was not actually really expensive, but this is what I wanted to do. I wanted him cleverly to remove his own soul, put it in a jar, and hide it somewhere where he's got an earth or clay golem built, ready to go, so that if he dies, his consciousness returns to the soul in the jar, because that's what happens. So,
yep, that's how lynches are made in GURPS.
Right.
Yep.
I wanted him to go into the soul jar and then be able to remove himself from the soul jar and incarnate the golem. But the cost to do it was so astronomical, and I spent tons of in-game time trying to slowly do this. It was ridiculous.
You would have to. Yeah.
I was like, this should be easier.
That's where in GURPS, it should be easier to be able to create a golem that I can store myself in, when I get killed.
Well,
that should. Why is that expensive?
The thing is, though, if you're paying for it ahead of time when you're during the point of character creation, that's where you're paying for it. Yeah,
and I think if you had the points as a game master, I would allow it, and I would say it would be in place.
It's not like I was looking to do it tons of times. I just wanted it to be able to happen once, because once he did that, he'd basically be a clay golem, and at that point he'd be pretty vulnerable without constantly doing magic to keep himself together. So, but at the same time, he'd also be very physically strong.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
he'd be Clayface basically.
Whatever. I'm just trying to turn a comic book hero into
There's
fantasy.
Nothing wrong with comic book
fantasy
and
comic books don't mix. There's lots
of magic in comic books. That's all I'm saying. Sorcerer Supreme.
No.
Thor.
That's
yes.
No magic.
Lots of
nothing
magic.
to do with fantasy. Nothing at all. Next should be calling it science fiction.
There's lots. I couldn't believe you were fighting me on the science fiction bit of it. Anyway, so
different genres.
So they're not different genres. One is not one is a description of and a type of. It can also be a genre. So So you covered the price of magic. You covered magic. You covered
Magic and
reputation. Did you cover the next one? Freedom?
No, freedom. Freedom is the I've sold my soul price. And who knows when it happens? It could be upon your death, 5 years,
Like Spawn.
when your magic runs out. Exactly. So
You just referenced a
that could be
comic book
anything.
about a magic system. I just wanted to point that out.
That's different.
When I do it, it's okay. When you do it, it's no
magic. Magic doesn't have to be in fantasy. It could be in comic books
It's
too.
only
What about Doctor
convenient when
Strange?
I say why. When you say why, it's just bunk.
Did I say we're creating a fantasy magic system? No, this could be for comic books too. It's magic. Magic could be in either genre.
Fair enough. All right. What else? What else could be a price of magic?
Time. And this is, once again, it's a great one for stories, I think. It's a really rough one for game systems. Yes, Michael, you can create all of the stuff that you want to do in over 120,000 hours.
Well, there's also the time can also be post-casting. You take a look at Merlin in Excalibur, and after he did the Charm of Making for Uther, he needed to rest for a very long time. He actually kind of left Uther high and dry for a while.
But remember, it's just the price, right? So how you implement it, those are the details that make your system, your story unique. It's not the things, the little bits within. Those are all been used.
Gandalf might have suffered, in the books, I believe he may have suffered a similar such cost at one point. I feel like that's familiar. More from the book than the movie.
I don't remember. Yeah,
been a while since.
When the movie he died, but...
No, I'm just talking in the movie, they when he goes to see Saruman, we see what's happening to him. But in the books, I don't believe...
You don't know what happens.
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know what happens.
He might have had a magic issue. I wouldn't swear to it, though. Like I said, it's been, probably been 15 years since I read that book.
I swear all the time. Okay. Now, more prices, your body. At your life. You notice I kept those separate, right?
Yes.
So you burn out your body, but maybe you can magically steal another one, which becomes probably a reputation cost as well.
There's the soul jar right there.
Exactly. So, but either one of those two, your soul, kind of like freedom, but different, right? So you lose it in different ways. A cost to others. You know, the classic one, and this happens a lot with life magic.
The best kind, when it costs someone else.
But, it's like you raise that person from the dead because they're your friend, and they're kind of a jerk, but you like each other. And then your mom dies. But, this is one that's popular. And you see a lot in life magic systems where, magic kills some other part of the world. And another very common karmic price, especially in spirit magic, is supernatural anger. You do something just a little wrong in your ritual, and the spirits or the gods want to kill you. Or maybe it's not even because of a mistake. Maybe you've become too bold, too brazen, and the gods don't like you.
Here lies poor Todd.
Or the spirits.
Here lies poor Todd. He angered a god.
Wow, poor Todd.
That's from this is a super throwback for any of you old school Genesis RPG players. D&D had something called the Warriors of the Eternal Sun, and there's a graveyard in there. Now, mind you, this is on the Sega Genesis. So the fact that there was a graveyard and you could individually go to each tombstone and it would pop up text telling you what was on the tombstone was... Oh, that
was like one of the...
Yeah. It was a big deal. That sort of thing wasn't in a lot of games like that back then. I mean, that's really impressive. And one of them said... Here,
that became more standard, more like next gen.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
like Nintendo. Yeah.
Here lies poor Todd. He angered a god is one that I never forgot. Along with he's dead Jim. Like there's a whole bunch of tombstones.
That's good.
It's like Ragnar the Great, or this warrior lies dead, blah blah blah. And a lot of them were just little, almost like limericks.
And then some were good Easter eggs.
And one of them was
or jokes.
One of them was he's dead Jim, which I just thought was really funny.
And that sort of became a trope in the Nintendo days with most of the sprite RPGs. You found tombstones, you're upbreeding tombstones because of that kind of stuff. Now, finally, there's Rule 7. This is the most important rule, the one you should think about. Everyone likes to think about, yay, okay, I'm trying to cast a fireball. Whoop-de-ding-dong. Okay, I win, I get a fireball. But really, the more important thing, and this one you maybe have general rules, but maybe you revisit when people do specific things. What happens when you screw it up? Stories work really well when people make mistakes. On accident, maybe it's a cosmic failure, who knows? But have something in mind. Let mistakes happen. They're great storytelling. And, like I said, it's a great way to twist a plot. Like, we finally got that super rare material we needed. We've got the words we need. And I know the words. Unlike the other jerk in the party who doesn't know the words, I know the words. And now we're going to do it. And you build up towards this climax, and then you just steal it.
Yeah, magic can be a crutch in storytelling. I find all too often some people will use magic as the MacGyver Swiss Army knife to solve a problem, when it's a lot more interesting to me if someone's like, I'm going to use magic here. Call upon the mage. Bring the mage forward. Mm-hmm. You've got the hero, and the hero has a troop of soldiers that he's brought with him because the king has sent these soldiers with him. So he's got 10 of the baddest soldiers, and then you've got the mage who he's like, take this mage with you, and they come to a ravine and they can't get across this chasm. So the mage makes a bridge, and the 10 soldiers go across first, and the captain's going to bring up the rear, and the bridge fails while they're in the middle of it, and they all plummet to their death.
Yeah.
And now the mage and the hero still have to get across this ravine without the help of their soldiers. Yeah. Failure's great.
Use failure. It's great when the cavalry comes and rescues the day, but it's better, when you see it happening and you're cheering it like, yay, finally the cavalry's coming, then you just crush it. You crush the reader's will. You crush the player's joy.
Destroy hope. Destroy hope. Crush it with every fiber of your being. There's a reason George R.R. Martin has dump trucks of money delivered to his house every day with Game of Thrones, because he crushes hope.
Oh, did you like Rob?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you like that character? Oh, we're going to kill him. Oh, did you like that one too? It's like the best thing you could do is be like, I'm ambivalent about all of them.
Yes, that's. But then it ruins it because, the thing he does well is the characters you hate, he very rarely gets rid of.
Well, you know what I find?
When he does, he goes big, but he rarely gets rid of the ones you really hate.
The thing that I like that he does is that he changes your mind about them. He not only makes you hate a character, he makes you empathize and root for the characters you hate sometimes. Mm-hmm. And Cersei is a perfect example of that. There are times when you hate her, and there's other times when you're absolutely rooting for her. I do.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's one time I was glad she won, but I hated her why she did it and the way she did it. But the thing is, Jaime, I think, is the better example of that.
Jaime's definitely a better example of that. We hate Jaime in the beginning. He does some horrible things, and then when you get down the road a little ways, you're like absolutely rooting for him.
Yeah, but Cersei, never.
Definitely rooted for Cersei a little bit. Like, I gotta tell you, I cannot wait. They don't even have to resolve anything, and I'm probably not going to get what I want. What I would really like is just to follow the Mountain slaughtering every other existing character in that world. Every single one. Wins. I want the Mountain to win. Everyone else can die. I want to see him kill Jon Snow. I want to see him kill the Mother of Dragons. Everybody. I want to see the Mountain win. He's not going to. We're supposedly, what we're all waiting to see is the Mountain and the Hound go toe-to-toe. Even that I'm excited about, but at the same time, I would rather see the Mountain cleave everyone in half.
I much prefer the Hound. I'm a Hound guy.
Don't get me wrong. I love the Hound. I think the Hound's fantastic. I love when. Can I send us into explicit?
Yeah, I think I might have already.
One of my favorite lines for him is when he kills the dude. When he kills the 3 guys at the fire, and he swings an axe into the dude's crotch or stomach. It's kind of tough to tell where the axe lands. and the guy's like, he asks him a question, like, aren't you going to say something or whatever? And the guy just says something, and he's like, you're shit at dying. What a great line. You're shit at dying.
He has a lot of great. That's why I'm a hound.
Oh, I love the hound.
Because that. All right. So there we are. Please use failure in your story.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just have to be with magic, but with magic, it's great. And just consider the possibilities. Even if you don't use them, have an idea of what happens when your system doesn't work, when you fail to do the ritual, when you misspeak the words. You need to know those things because sometimes they lead to great stories.
So the world builder task for today is quite simply, since we've now completed the third episode in our how to create a magic system series, go off there and finish your magic system. Complete it.
Just finish it right off. Yeah.
And by all means, join the Facebook group. And if we missed something or if you've got a good suggestion, we encourage that to huge piles of amounts because because you guys got great ideas. This is
not meant to be comprehensive.
Yeah, this is meant to be collaborative. So,
yeah, these are the things that I think of. Michael ignores, and that's the World Builder's Anvil. But you know what? There are more ideas out there. Michael even has some of them. He just won't share them. He just refuses.
That's not true. I share. I've been sharing the past couple of days. I've been sharing a lot. We got a couple. We got some good episode ideas coming up that I wrote. Two, not one, but two lists of show ideas that I sent to Jeff. So don't ruin your show. Don't be implying that I'm stingy about sharing.
Don't ruin your show character. It's just taken away. And next they'll know that you read show notes sometimes. Jesus, it's just ruining the
I read them every time, and then I summarily ignore them. I need to know what subjects to avoid, so that's why I read the notes.
To be in his defense, he has actually written show notes and then gone off show notes.
Yeah, that's true. I have done that. So what's the
and now here for
go for it. Real world task.
The real world task of the day. Love your life. Life is a journey. You don't know where it's going. You have ideas, have plans, move forward, keep going, keep pushing. But you know what? When shit comes up,
and it will,
love it. Just fucking love it, unless it's really horrible shit. If it's something in your life,
love the horrible stuff too, because
just love your life.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like take everything you can from it. Like I hated what I had to deal with my back recently, but I do have a couple of real funny stories from it too. So to that end, I kind of loved it.
Yeah, but you know what? The point is you gotta love it because you know what? You can't get upset, and when your plans go awry, you can be frustrated when your job isn't as cool or isn't as great as you were hoping it was going to be. You can't control it, so freaking love it because you'll have more energy to get more crap done that you do love. Spend more time with your family, to just follow the river of life because you know what? Rivers look straight if you look at them from a far distance, but when you get close, they wind a lot. And that's just the way life is.
And maybe if you can't bring yourself to love an aspect of your life or something you might be dealing with, then I would really push you to and encourage you to choose it. You don't have to like it or love it, but choose it. And when you choose it, you're back. Back in control. And when you do choose it, it's a lot easier to like it and love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All of the things you won't love, some are boring, some are dull. But you know what? Love your life.
I got a great example
no matter
of it.
Which,
little segue.
It's a good roller coaster. Segue us out.
I will segue us out. One of the toughest things I've ever had to do in my life was get divorced. And when I got divorced, I wasn't choosing it. She was choosing it, and it was happening to me. Because the unfortunate truth is it takes two people for two people to be married, but it only takes one person for two people to be divorced. And she was the one, and I was fighting and fighting and fighting. And then I had a long conversation with a good friend, and I came around, and I figured out a way to empoweringly choose divorce for myself, even though it wasn't what I was originally committed to and not what I wanted in my life. And I found a way to choose it for myself, and everything became real easy. Even my ex, was like, what's going on? Like, she was confused and thought that I was possibly posturing for some kind of legal move because I seemed totally cool with everything that was happening from that point forward. And it wasn't that I was totally cool with it. In a way, I was. But what I figured out that was, instead of lamenting the way my life was changing and what I was losing, I decided to look forward and look at everything I was going to gain. I was going to gain a new place to live. I was going to gain a new lifestyle because I was going to change it. I was going to gain tons of free time that I didn't have in the confines of the relationship that I had been in. I was going to gain the ability to go out whenever I wanted to and hang out with my friends more often. So when I chose it for myself, I became so much happier. And it was a springboard into how my life changed from that point forward. And without that positive outlook, I never would have met and got together with my wife, Sarah. And, this is the relationship I was meant to be in. So enjoy your life.
Yes. Because you know what? If he had not chosen to enjoy and love his life, he might have met her after his divorce, but in his bitter state, maybe he would have missed the opportunity that was around the corner.
Yep.
So you can't control everything, and some stuff will suck, but you gotta love your life. And if you can't really work with friends, if you're religious, go to your spiritual advisors. Work with anyone you can to learn to love your life, because you know what? I love my life. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but you know what? It's a journey. I enjoy it, even when it sucks.
Thank you so much for listening to the World Builders Anvil. We would love it if you would share the World Builders Anvil with 2 of your friends, and so would they. If they are unfamiliar with podcasts, then you get to introduce them to the wonderful world of podcasting by showing them Stitcher or iTunes, or, best of all, just send them to our website, www.gardul.com. That's GARDUL.com.
Now strike while the mithril's hot.